Hey everyone, how's everybody out there in hobby land today? Hope you all are doing good and working on some model projects and making some progress with them. Wanted to do a review here on a kit, and actually I've got two reviews that I'm going to do. This is going to be on the 2009 Chevrolet Corvette from AMT. To show you what the box art is, it's this model here. It's the showroom replica series from them, which means this is a curbside kit, no engine included in it. It's a pretty simple kit, molded pretty well. I got this thing in and actually started on it a little while ago, and ran into some issues right off the bat because there's some things that I don't do on a model, and this one here bit me because of it, so I wanted to go over that also. But once you open this thing up, and you look at the parts, I mean, they're pretty decent for what you get. I think it was like a $15 kit, I think is what I paid for it. So overall, I think it's pretty decent. So I'm going to pan the camera down, and we'll show you what all's in the kit, and I'll give you some of my likes and dislikes on it, and we'll go from there. Okay. To start out with in the kit, once you open it up, of course, everything's in bags, and I've unbagged most of it. It comes with, of course, the instructions, and they're pretty simple. Not like your normal model kit. When you flip this thing open, you have these two pages and the back page, and that model is complete. So it's a pretty straightforward model. It's a nice model for doing a quick build or something like that, or any guys that want to compete in like the curbside or the slammer class. This would be a great model for that. It gives you a sign up sheet for the round 2 newsletter. That's AMT and Polar Lights and MPC. You just fill this out, send it in, they'll send you a newsletter, and of course you got to put a stamp on it, so that'll cost a little bit, but not too bad. And of course the clear parts, they give you the windshield and the back glass is all in one piece, and then there's some other lenses in here, and your headlight lenses. So, and from what I've seen, they look pretty good. I usually don't take my clear parts out of the bag until I'm just about ready to start fitting that kind of stuff. I see a few waves in the headlight lenses, so I may have to go in and sand those and kind of, you know, get them a little flatter, and they look a little thick, so we'll have to see when we get there. But overall, it looks pretty decent. And then they also give you a, while we're talking about the paperwork that's in the kit, they give you a catalog, sort of some of the kits that they have, and some of the newer stuff that they're coming out with, which is pretty neat, and kind of gives you an idea of what's up and coming, or what's actually out there right now. And this here was from 2009, 2010, so this is when it's probably a little bit behind, but it's included in the kit anyway. And as I go over each item here, I'm going to go ahead and just stick it back in the box so I get it out of the way. Let's see, we went over the clear parts. The decals, I took these out of the bag. Look to be pretty decent. Very similar to what I used on my C5 Corvette when I done it. And the neat thing about these decals is they give you duplicates of each decal. So if for some reason or another you happen to drop one and lose it, or you mess one up, or, you know, for whatever reason, you do have another decal identical to that on the sheet. So that's a pretty neat idea. I think they've done that more for the beginner guys and the intermediate guys that, you know, haven't messed with a lot of decals. This is a very good thing here that AMT done. So kudos to them for that. But like I say, the decals look pretty decent. Not real thick, so nice color on them. And then of course you get your regular vinyl tires. Of course, Corvette's got a staggered tire size on it, and they replicate that here. So they're pretty decent. Tread and everything looks good on them. Just a typical directional tread that, you know, you see on a lot of the AMT kits, but I mean, it's not 100% accurate. There's no writing on the sidewalls, but, you know, they're pretty decent. They'll look good underneath the car. And then the chrome parts are also in a bag, and I went ahead and took the bag off of them just to see what it looked like. And I would say for the most part, These could be used straight out of the kit. The chrome seems to be molded very well, or actually plated very well on it. I don't see any major, sink marks or flaws or anything like that. And another nice thing that they've done is the attaching points on the wheels are in the center of the wheel. Not out on the edge where when you clip it off, you got to touch up the chrome and do all that. So these should be good to go right out of the box if you want this style wheel. And in the case of this model, I will be using these because I want to put it in a replica stock class. And they're pretty nice. They look very much like the real wheel that's on the one-to-one car. So looks pretty good. Next, you move on. You have a bag of AMT's famous metal axles. They give you those, and there's also 4 screws in here that screws the chassis assembly up to the underside of the body. So they give you those. And now I guess we'll move on to the body. I have already added the hood, the nose, and the rear fascia onto this. They're all separate parts, and I went ahead and put them on. The fit on them is okay. Not perfect. So you may want to go in, and there's actually lineup pins in here. There's a pin on like the rear fascia, and then there's a set of holes in the body itself. Dry check your fit, and see what it looks like, and you may want to go in and make these holes just a little bit bigger, so when you're lining up the rear fascia and the nose, you're able to move it around a little bit to get it to line up. Excuse me. The hood fit real well. Just pay attention to the front edge of the hood. When you put it on, there is a little bit of movement in the pin to the hole. And when you put it on, you can have it too far back, which will put a big gap up here at the nose piece. So just make sure that when you set it down in there and get it glued in, that you slide it forward so it lines up with the front edge of the fenders, and you'll be good to go on that. But the molding overall is pretty good on the body. There's a small sink mark in the center of the roof right here, and it's because of this pin that's underneath of it that's cast in. And there's also a sink mark that runs right across the back end of the car. I did notice that. It's not real big. It should sand out pretty easy. But down the sides and everything, the car looks decent. There's of course you have your mold lines that run across the top of the fenders, and they come up the roof and back. And then they drop down onto the quarter panel and flow back. But overall, it's they hit them very well. A little bit of sanding, you'll be good to go there. So overall, the body to me looks pretty decent. I've actually got this all cleaned down, and we'll touch on that here in a minute on what I had to do with that. So body-wise, we're pretty decent. They give you a separate set of door panels that are molded pretty well. And then as far as the parts trees, we have a few parts here like the shifter, and of course the rotors and the calipers are all molded in one piece, and they are simulated drilled rotors. In my particular kit, 2 of these rotors were loose. They'd come off the parts tree. But a little bit of flash here and there, not quite as clean as I'd expect out of a fairly new kit from a manufacturer, but overall it's pretty decent, not real clunky. Then we move on to the next one, and you have the exhaust tips. The mirrors are on here, the steering wheel and the steering column, and the dash assembly, which is molded very well. Very nice detail on it. A little bit of dry brushing after your main color, and the dash should look very realistic. And then you have the interior pan, which has the console molded into it. They didn't do any texturing in the back of the car, in the trunk area. So this would be a perfect candidate for doing a little bit of flocking if you wanted to do that. They did texture the front floor pans a little bit to simulate the carpet. But like I say, they did nothing in the rear of it. And next we have the vinyl seats. These are actually flexible vinyl. They're okay. I've tried to paint these things before, and I have run into issues with this style seat being in this vinyl material, so I did figure out a couple tricks to making this stuff take paint pretty well. But overall, I mean, they're molded pretty decent. A little bit of cleanup here and there, and they should come out pretty good for you. So that, you know, that's not one of the high points of the kit as far as I'm concerned. I always like my styrene seats because you have a lot of room to actually, you know, reshape and do what you need to. And these here are kind of hard to do that with. But, you know, they are what they are. It's a simplified kit, so that's probably why they've done it this way. And then the last piece we have is the chassis pan itself. And this has everything molded into it, similar to a Tamiya kit. It has the front and rear suspensions, you know, cast into it, and the exhaust is cast into it. Now, this has been sprayed with a light coat of matte black Tamiya out of the can. And let me see if I can get this to focus in here, and I'll show you what I ran into. If you look at the floor pans right there, you can see silicone contamination, which is actually the mold release that's on this kit. Normally, I do not clean up my model kits in soap or water or anything like that. But I did find out on this kit, it is a necessity to make sure that you clean every one of these parts. Because if you don't, you will have this problem here with the paint not adhering well and, you know, bubbling up. It's basically like spraying right over top of silicone. So, you know, I'm not a big fan of the manufacturers that send a kit out with that much mold release on them, but this kit definitely has it. And I have used a prep all cleaner on the body and dishwashing liquid and a brush, and this thing's been scrubbed about 3 times. So once I get done with the sanding on it, I'm going to scrub it again, and then we'll go through the primer stage and make sure everything looks good at that point. So, but like I say, I usually don't clean my models up as far as, you know, all the parts, but this one here, you definitely have to do it, or you will end up with problems. If your kit's like mine, I mean, like I say, this had a lot of mold release on it that, you know, I kind of felt it, but I didn't really see it a lot, so I didn't pay much attention to it. I just went ahead and you know, wiped this thing off. There was a couple cast-in numbers underneath here that I took off, and I just took it over in the spray booth and, you know, sprayed it with the Tamiya straight out of the can, and it did do some crazy stuff there. So, but other than that, it looks to be a pretty decent kit. I think I would recommend it to just about anybody out there. Like I say, it's a simplified kit. But, you know, if you like the Corvette, the C6 Corvette, I think it's a pretty good kit to, you know, replicate a C6 in scale. So, I think I'm going to let you go on that today on this review here. If you got any questions or concerns, just, you know, leave me a question or whatever on the video. I'll be more than glad to get back to you. So, that's going to be the review on the AMT 2009 Chevrolet Corvette Showroom Replica Series. And coming up next, I'm going to do one on the 2013 Chevrolet Camaro, the ZL1 kit, which is also a replica, or a showroom series replica. So stay tuned for that. So have a good day, and we will talk to you again here shortly. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.